Hello and welcome to Round 4 Flicks. Today we will discuss the top 10 epic fantasy and supernatural television series that you should watch in 2023. We intended to compile a list of undervalued fantasy series to provide viewers with something new to watch, but we have already covered popular new shows like Moon Knight, Siren and Emerald City in earlier videos on this topic, so those and some other incredibly popular shows won't be on this list. Let's now begin the video. Number 10. The Librarians. John Rogers is the creator of this fantasy adventure series. In this television series, the Librarians are essentially a historical group dedicated to guarding an unprotected world against a mysterious hidden presence. The story revolves around newly hired members of a storied organization tasked with protecting intriguing cursed historic items. In the meanwhile, Flynn Carson has served as the community's unofficial leader, although his position has grown extremely difficult, and to assist the library recruits a new team, each of whom has a specific set of skills. They embarked on international expeditions in an effort to protect enigmatic artifacts from antiquity and protect the world from emerging wicked and frightening powers. Even though this show is becoming older, you should still watch it. If you haven't seen Harry Potter, the plot will remind you of it. Although it lacked excellent CGI due to its age and cheap budget, but the story is still pretty interesting, and the fantasy atmosphere is excellent and often leaves you thinking. Number 9. Island. Bai Zhang is the director of this fantasy action drama. The main character of the story is Miho, whose actions lead to a tragic mistake that ultimately enrages her father and causes her exile to Jeju Island, where she is tasked with teaching in a secondary school. Unaware that the island is a haven for darkness, she eventually encounters other people on the island and joins teams with them in order to survive. The show also centers on two other characters named Van and Johan. The best part of the show is the action, which elevates its generally good story. These characters team up to battle a sinister island force that wants to kill the world. Van was raised to defend humanity from evil, and Miho Johan is a priest who performs purification ceremonies. There is a lot of action, romance, humor and mystery in this show. However, the show takes some time to get going. If you stick with it through the first few episodes, you'll see where it goes. Number 8. Legacies. Julie Plec is the creator of this fantasy drama series. If you've seen the original TV show, you've definitely heard of or even seen this one. Legacies is a spin-off of the original TV program, so even if you haven't seen it, you won't miss anything in particular. Hope Mickelson is the main character in Legacy. She belongs to the deadliest clan of vampire, werewolf and witch families. She is the daughter of one of the most powerful original vampires, Klaus Michel and Haley Marshall. The story takes place around 2 years after the original's conclusion at the Salvador Academy, where magical beings are taught how to control their powers and emotions. Hope and her allies combat supernatural threats to defend their loved ones in each season's main plot, which is focused on a particular subplot that ties into the overall story. The show featured numerous mythical creatures, including werewolves, witches and phoenix, and had an amazing fantasy, magical and mystical feel. You might consider watching the original later because the show is captivating and its last 4th season finished up the plot in a nice way. Number 7. Sleepy Hollow. The television show is a mysterious fantasy drama loosely based on the short story The Sleepy Hollow Legend. The story revolves around Ichabod Crane, who awakens 2 centuries in the distant future. He must solve a mystery that pertains to the country's ancient founding fathers. The Headless Horseman was brought back to life by the blood spell that allowed Crane to travel into the future, and when he realized that the Headless Horseman was actually just the first of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, he went on a murderous rampage through the city. Ichabod is aware that he needs to find a means to stop him in order to stop the impending disaster. Additionally, I won't tell the puzzle of why Crane was sent into the future in order to avoid spoilers. Although the plot does take a negative turn and lose consistency, the show's subject matter is often intriguing and keeps viewers interested from the beginning. It also differs from the typical magical fantasy scenario. Number 6. Blood of Zeus. Charlie and Vlas Prolapinides are the creators of this animated fantasy action series. The show is set in ancient Greece and revolves on Heron, a regular guy who discovers that he is actually the son of Zeus and that his duty is to defend Earth from an impending evil invasion. Heron is the focus of the entire series as he battles a vengeful queen and her horrifying soldiers to defend Olympus and Earth. The show features incredible creatures, Greek mythologies, giants, and demons. The Netflix animated series, as we've heard previously, has a great story and some spectacular action. The story is a little different from what we're used to seeing in movies and TV series about Greek gods and Olympus, but it's interesting enough to hold your interest from the start. Number 5. The Magicians. It is a fantasy thriller series based on Lev Grossman's book of the same name. The story centers on Quentin Coldwater, a graduate student at Break Bills University studying magic who has always been drawn to the world of fantasy literature. However, not long after he and his classmates arrived there to begin their magic training, they discovered that the realm of enchantment they had read about as children was not only real but also harmful to humanity. After making this discovery, they began attending the covert school in upstate New York where they are currently pursuing education while battling to deal with the fallout from a disaster that occurred on its campus and face evil forces. The show has 5 seasons, and its brilliantly original plot and countless unexpected turns will keep you enthralled. If you like the Harry Potter movies, you'll enjoy this one because it's not exactly like Harry Potter, but the topic has a similar tone. The show may not have impressed book lovers, but it definitely appeals to fans of the fantasy genre. Number 4. WandaVision. Jack Schaefer is the creator of this superhero fantasy miniseries. If you haven't watched this series and are assuming that you need to watch the past MCU films, you're correct, but only if you really want to know what occurred before. Even if you haven't seen all the MCU films, you can still watch this show and consider its plot to be standalone. The series centers on Wanda Maximoff, a strong witch and Vision, a superhuman being, as they live happily ever after in the small town of Westview. However, things are not as they seem, and Wanda's idyllic small-town existence is nothing more than an illusion because her magic has overtaken the entire town and its inhabitants. The rest of the show involves as a few more people are introduced and city authorities work to release the town from Wanda magic. What motivates her to hold the town hostage is a suspenseful element that piques your interest right away. Although it is not a pure fantasy show like The Sandman or Lord of the Rings, it is nonetheless an incredibly fantastic show with Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda and an amazing combat sequence at the end. Number 3. GRIMM. Stephen Carpenter is the creator of this fantasy police procedural series. The plot centers on Detective Nick Burkhart, who learns that he comes from an ancestral line of protectors known as Grimms who are tasked with maintaining harmony between humans and the world's legendary beings. To put it simply, Grimm is someone who has the ability to see creatures that are hiding in human form. He must battle a variety of lethal monsters throughout the entire series with the help of his creature companion Monroe and his fellow officer. The remarkable fusion of investigative drama, supernatural and fantasy in Grimm significantly increases the enjoyment of the program. The series offers a lot, including unsettling monsters and gripping crime scenes that advance the plot toward a significant finale. This series had 6 seasons. If you're searching for a show to binge watch, this is it. Number 2. What We Do in the Shadows. Jermaine Clement is the creator of this fantasy horror comedy series. The plot of the show is weird in a good way since it has a gothic horror vibe and a hilarious tone running through it. This makes the show one of the most original fantasy shows you will ever see. The adventures of Nander, Laszlo and Naja, 3 common vampires, and Colin Robinson, a spirit vampire who accompany Nander, are described. Since Naja the vampire is the temptress and Nander is a renowned warrior and conqueror, Laszlo, a British vampire, relishes mischief, a great celebration, and watching Nander fail miserably in every venture. The plot of the series centers on relationships between vampires and humans as well as other living things. If you want a hilarious comedy with an odd fantasy twist, you shouldn't miss the show. It has 4 seasons and has been renewed for a 5th and 6th. The show is very funny, clever, intelligent, and makes you laugh a lot. Because it is a hybrid of several genres, categorizing it into just one would be unfair. Number 1. Alchemy of Souls. Park Joon-hwa is the director of this fantasy period drama series. Unquestionably one of the best fantasy shows of 2022, this one's plot is so amazing and captivating that viewers will want to watch it non-stop. The story is set in a fictional country called Diho, where gifted young magicians must work to avoid their tragic fates due to an enchanted ritual called alchemy of souls that is forbidden but is practiced by the bad since it allows souls to shift bodies. The main story revolves around Maksu, a formidable warrior whose soul is mistakenly trapped inside the body of Niryok, a servant of Zhang Yuke, a powerful and wealthy wizard family in the country. The two must work together to help one another while fending against powerful individuals using soul transfer magic to exert control over others. The narrative and the chemistry are this show's two primary selling points. There are 2 parts to the series, and Part 2 picks up after Conclusion 1 and takes the plot in a slightly different direction, which is kind of great given the significant revelations in Part 1 finale. That is all for today. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our channel to view future videos about suggested movies and television shows.